Watch the person across from you the moment you stop talking. The gap opens, and where anyone else would scramble to fill it, they just let it sit. They keep their eyes on you and they wait. You've been on the losing end of that quiet. The pause stretched, something in you couldn't take it, and you filled it with a sentence you never meant to say. Then you watched them do it to somebody else. The same easy stillness, the same waiting, the same person on the other side rushing to fill the air. Identical. And something in your chest dropped, because you understood the silence was never room they were giving you. It was a device, and it had been running the whole time. So tonight we put the silence on the table and cut it open. Why an empty pause feels like depth, and what the stillness is quietly covering. By the end you'll be able to sit inside a long silence, let it be comfortable, and still read the dial. Let's begin. First, the mechanism. Set the calm one aside for a moment. What does a silence actually do to the two people sitting inside it? It becomes a vacuum. And a nervous system treats a vacuum the way lungs treat a held breath. Something has to rush in. So someone breaks it. And the one who breaks the silence is simply the one who could stand it least. Breaking first has a price. You don't just say a word. You fill the gap with more than you meant, the extra reason, the softened number, the thing you were holding back. You have watched a price come down, an apology arrive, a confession fall out of a person, produced by nothing in the room but the silence. The one who can wait isn't stronger than you. They're just less frightened of the quiet than you are. That gap in fear is the entire lever. So the silence quietly turns into a scale. Whoever needs it to end is the one who pays to end it. First finding. The pull you feel in their stillness is not depth. It is the vacuum and your own hurry to fill it before they do. Second cut. A silence has no words in it, which means it has no content of its own at all. So where does the meaning you feel come from? You supply it. Their quiet is a blank screen, and you throw your own film onto it. Your hopes, your fears, the verdict you're most afraid of. You read the pause as judgment, or as depth, or as someone who knows something you don't. The silence said none of that. You did. Because a face that isn't talking is a face you can't check. And an unreadable face, your mind decides, must be busy reading you. Watch which meaning you reach for first. A frightened person fills a silence with a verdict against themselves. That reflex is older than the room you're standing in. Second finding. Their silence didn't hand you a feeling. It handed you a blank, and you filled it with the thing you already walked in carrying. Third mechanism. Notice what talking is quietly built to do. Every filler sentence is a small hand reaching out to keep you here. Silence sends the opposite signal. It says, without a single word, that this person would be perfectly fine if you got up and left. And a person who doesn't seem to need the exchange reads instantly as the one who has more. More options, more standing, more somewhere else to be. The unspoken words read as reserves. You assume the silence is full, that they're holding something back worth more than anything they'd have said. It is the oldest trick of value. A thing withheld looks worth more than the same thing offered. A closed hand is assumed to be full. But an empty vault and a full one look exactly the same from the outside. That is the whole point of a vault. Third finding. You aren't drawn to what's inside the silence. You're drawn to the fact that it's closed, and you can't see that it might be empty. Fourth mechanism. Now watch what happens the moment they finally do speak. The silence in front of the sentence changes the sentence. A pause in front of a line makes the line feel weighed, chosen, as if it were drawn up from somewhere deep instead of said off the top. The same plain words said instantly sound cheap. Said after 5 seconds of quiet, they sound like a verdict. Nothing changed but the gap. So the silence lends its weight to whatever comes next, whether or not the words earned it. The pause writes a check the sentence never has to cash. Fourth finding. You feel the weight of the words, but the weight came from the silence in front of them. You paid for the delivery and called it truth. Now the uncomfortable part. Every one of these runs on one thing, a person not filling a gap. And not filling a gap is the easiest performance on this table. A person with genuinely nothing to prove, and a person holding their tongue for effect, take the exact same photograph. There is no frame in it where you can tell. Real quiet costs nothing to counterfeit. You don't have to build anything or say anything. You just close your mouth and let the other person drown. So the silence can be genuine ease, or it can be a clamp held shut on purpose. From the outside, in the moment, they are the same still face. So how do you tell an easy silence from a weaponized one? For tells, and they fall straight out of the mechanism. Tell one. The eyes inside the quiet. Real ease rests its eyes soft on you and asks for nothing. The weaponized pause watches you for the effect it's having. The performer can't help checking the dial. Their silence has a job to do, so their eyes keep flicking down to see if it's working on you yet. Tell two. Give them your own silence back. Say nothing and simply wait. Genuine ease lets your quiet breathe. The performer can't stand it. Because their comfort was never comfort. It was control of the frame. Hand the silence back to them, and the person who needed to run it has to grab it again. Tell three. What the silence produces. A real pause every so often lands on something worth the wait. The empty one just resets and buys time and buys time and buys time. Count the payloads over an evening. Real silence occasionally opens onto something. The performed one is all packaging, a long-waited pause in front of an ordinary line every single time. Tell 4, and it's the one they cannot beat. What the silence costs them. Real ease doesn't strain. A held clamp leaks. Watch the hands, the jaw, the foot. Genuine quiet is loose all the way through. The manufactured pause holds still up top and leaks tension out the bottom of the frame. A person can hold their tongue for one evening. They cannot hold their whole nervous system still while they do it. That's the floor the trick can't reach. Here's what falling for the counterfeit costs you. You leave a silence certain the other person was deep, grounded, sure of themselves, sure of everything but you. You hand them a win they never played for. You lowered the price, said the extra sentence, filled the blank against yourself, and then thanked them for their depth. And the certainty you read in their quiet was mostly your own noise, played back to you off a blank wall, in your own voice. Last cut. What are you actually supposed to do with this in a real quiet room next week? Not this. Don't start weaponizing your own silences to seem deep. You'll be found the first evening the pause opens onto nothing. And not the other reflex either. Don't fill every gap faster to prove you're not afraid of it. That just hands the silence its win from the opposite side. Do this instead. Next time a silence pulls at you, let it. Don't fill it and don't fear it. Just sit in the quiet and watch what the other person does with it. If they let your quiet be, if their eyes stay soft and nothing in them strains, you're sitting with someone genuinely at ease. That's rare and it is the real thing. And notice who keeps filling the air around you. Often it isn't weakness. Sometimes a person talks because they'd rather give you something than leave you guessing. Then the part about you because you already own this instrument. You have run the silence yourself. On the ones you're negotiating with, waiting out, trying to win. You have let a pause do your arguing. Held your tongue not because you were at peace, but because you knew the other person would crack first and pay for the quiet. So you already know the quiet can be hollow, because you have sent one out hollow and watched it work. That's tonight's finding. The comfort you feel in their silence is not a measure of how deep they are. It's a measure of how little you can stand your own. And the reason it works on you every single time is that you cannot sit in a gap either. You rush to fill every silence with everyone you have ever been afraid to lose. So when someone finally sits easy in the quiet with you, of course it reads as depth. You are looking at the one thing you could never do. Now you can sit in the silence and read the dial at the same time. Same table next week.